I, 33-year-old female, got into an argument with my mom, 58-year-old female, last week. For context, my father, 58-year-old male, is completely deaf. He was born deaf and he communicates pretty much only through American Sign Language ASL. My three siblings and I learned ASL at a very young age in order to be able to communicate with him. And now we are all fluent in it. My mom is also fluent. My mom has never once communicated any concerns with us learning ASL until last week. My husband, Mark, 35-year-old male, and I have a wonderful daughter, Ava, 5-year-old female. We are also 6 months pregnant with a baby boy. Ever since Ava had been able to confidently speak and form sentences, Mark and I have been teaching her a couple ASL signs. We live about 20 minutes from my parents and see them often, so we figured it would be great if Ava could communicate with my dad. Ava is doing great with learning signs and we are so proud of her. The problem with my mom arose last week. Mark, Ava, and I went to my parents' house one afternoon to have dinner there. We were all in the living room and Ava was showing my dad the new signs she had learned. He was so happy and Ava was having a great time. I looked over at my mom and she looked upset. I asked if something was wrong and she said that she couldn't believe I was trying to confuse Ava. I didn't understand what she meant. I figured she was saying that one of the signs Ava did was incorrect. However, when I asked if that was the problem, she frowned even more. She started saying that her biggest regret was teaching me and my siblings ASL when we were young because it messed up our heads. I was so confused and asked her to explain. She then reminded me about the time when I was about 9 or 10, and at school I assumed that everyone knew ASL, so I started signing, and I refused to speak for the rest of the day, and they had to call her. Then she told me that very similar things happened with my siblings too. She asked if that was what I wanted for Ava, and I tried to explain that when teaching ASL, just like other spoken languages, it is a good thing to start early. She freaked out and said that I was just trying to delay Ava's English skills. Again, I tried to explain that Ava's speech is great and learning ASL isn't harming her. All of a sudden, my mom was crying and yelling and walking around the room and saying that I am not a good mother to Ava, and if I try to harm my son this way too, she'd call Child Protective Services, CPS. By this point, Ava was crying and Mark was holding her, trying to calm her down and also defend me from my mom. My mom rushed upstairs while I told my dad what happened, and he was furious with my mom. He went upstairs too, and we left. Mark and I talked about what happened, and he assured me that we are doing the right thing with Ava. I was still very shaken, but I knew he was right. My mom has left me dozens of texts telling me that I shouldn't teach Ava or my son any ASL if I want to be a good mom, but I haven't responded. So, am I the jerk, Ata? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Does your mother not realize that she's technically the reason why you and your siblings assumed everyone knew American Sign Language? When I was born, I was assumed to never be able to speak, so my family learned and taught me American Sign Language, and we kept up the lessons even after I'd begun speaking. I'm selectively mute. They always told me that not everyone speaks it, and that nobody at my school would know American Sign Language because it isn't taught in schools. They drilled this into my head early, so I knew when to use my phone or laptop to speak in case I couldn't use my vocal cords. Your mother is crossing several lines by threatening you with Child Protective Services for teaching your child another language. Because many children are bilingual or even trilingual, and it's easier to learn while they're still young than it is when they're older. Comment 2. Not the idiot. American Sign Language has been proven to be a very good thing to teach kids and helps make the world more accessible. Her saying that you aren't a good mom for teaching your kids something super important because of one non-serious event that happened with you and your siblings is wild. Not the idiot. Keep teaching your kids sign language. It comes in handy and definitely does not hurt your kid. Edit. Holy frick, somehow missed the Child Protective Services part. Is there any chance your mom is struggling with other issues? That is definitely a very abnormal and concerning response. That is not at all fair to you and a super mega shitty thing to say. Now for the update, thanks for sticking with me. Things have really taken a turn since I last reached out. After the blowout with my mom, Mark and I decided to give her some space, hoping she'd come around. But instead, she doubled down. She actually went through with her threat and called CPS on us. Can you believe that? They showed up one morning, unannounced, with a list of concerns she'd given them. It was humiliating. They checked our house, interviewed us, and even talked to Ava, who was confused and scared. Thankfully, they quickly realized there was no issue and closed the case. But the damage was done. The trust I had in my mom was shattered. Mark was livid. He wanted to confront her, but I begged him to let me handle it. I went to see her alone, and it was like talking to a stranger. She was so convinced that we were harming Ava by teaching her ASL that nothing I said made any difference. She even admitted she'd been talking to some parenting expert online who filled her head with nonsense about bilingualism causing confusion in kids. I tried to tell her about all the research that says the opposite, but she wouldn't listen. Dad was caught in the middle. He was hurt by Mom's actions and her apparent regret over teaching us ASL, something that had always been a point of pride in our family. He told me he was considering leaving her. I couldn't believe it. My parents, who'd been together for over 30 years, were on the brink of divorce because of this. In the midst of all this, Ava's birthday was coming up. We decided to have a small party at our place, just to keep things simple. We didn't invite my mom, but Dad came. He looked so defeated, it broke my heart. Ava was happy to see him, signing away as she showed him her birthday presents. Watching them together, I knew we couldn't let my mom's issues tear our family apart. Then, out of nowhere, my mom showed up at the party. She had a gift for Ava and asked to speak to me in private. I was wary, but I agreed. She broke down, apologizing for everything. She'd been to see a therapist who helped her realize she was projecting her own insecurities about not being able to hear onto us. She was scared Ava would prefer signing over talking and that she'd lose her connection with her granddaughter. It was a lot to take in. I was angry, hurt, but also relieved that she was finally seeing sense. We talked for a long time and she promised to work on her issues and to try to mend things with Dad. Ava's party ended on a surprisingly positive note, with Mom and Dad talking quietly in the corner. Mark squeezed my hand, a silent acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, we were on the path to healing. So that's where we are now. It's been pretty hard on us, but I'm hopeful. Thanks for reading. My neighbor's kid kept sneaking into my yard and made my dog escape. So after 5 years of chaos, I installed cameras and showed the footage to the police, which got them evicted. I moved into my neighborhood about 5 years ago and am a single female in my mid to late 20s. Early on, I would hang out with the children on my street and be lenient with them regarding being on my property. About 1.5 years in, I got a puppy that got out quite a few times over the first couple of years of owning her, and my neighbor has been helpful in helping get her and keeping her in their house or backyard sometimes if I'm not home. This was when I learned she could open the front door from the inside. This family has been generous on other occasions, such as having me over for dinner once, shoveling my driveway a couple of times, and assisting, barely, with putting up a new fence that benefited them as much as it benefited me. Over the past year, there have been numerous occasions where their son, Timmy, will either hop the fence to get into my backyard or open the gate and later leave it open because it's too tall for him. My dog got out a few more times because this happened on multiple occasions. I had asked Timmy and the other children on our street nicely to ask for my permission before entering my backyard. I had even talked to Timmy's mother about it a few times, one of which was when she was opening my back gate to let Timmy in. Her reasoning for this was because I was not home when Timmy knocked on my door, so she took it upon herself to let him in. After that moment, I bought a no trespassing sign to put on my fence but ended up not using it. Thankfully, the past few months have been fine, and Timmy and his friends were even coming to my front door to ask if I could get their ball for them. So I figured we were past this. This morning I was driving back onto my street, but when I was about to pass my house to get to my driveway, I saw Timmy and a friend on the roof of my shed in my backyard, and Timmy's father next door helping them. I stopped my car right there and called out, asking what they were doing. The father's response was that there was a ball between the fence and my shed that was only accessible by climbing my shed. That's all fine and good, but I asked why he couldn't wait to ask me before doing it and didn't get a response. When Timmy and his parents left for the day, I went outside and put the no trespassing sign on the fence right near my shed, next to their property line. Well, 5 hours later, they arrived home and I received a text from Timmy's mother outlining how generous they have been and how they have respected my boundaries. So they were really hurt by the sign I put up. Am I the idiot for finally putting the sign up after Timmy and his parents still don't understand my wishes of asking for permission before entering my yard? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, I blame Timmy's dad. He told the kids to climb the shed, and he obviously felt no need to wait for your approval because he was right there supervising. That was very wrong of him, in my opinion. It's rude and it's been problematic. But that kid is going to follow his parents' lead before he listens to you. So the signs are for the parents, not the idiot. Her feelings aren't hurt because they keep ignoring your previous agreement? Comment 2, not the idiot. I would treat these as separate issues. Just tell them you like them. But they have to respect your boundary. They don't seem remotely dangerous. So I just stick to your guns and only escalate things slowly like you've been doing. I think you handled things pretty much perfectly. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for the update. So the sign I put up, it started a war. Timmy's mom, she came over red-faced and all, saying how I've insulted them. She said they've been nothing but good neighbors, and here I am, acting all high and mighty. I tried to explain, but she wasn't having any of it. Next thing I know, they're throwing a party, a loud one, right on the edge of their property, by my fence. Music blaring till the early hours, and guess who gets a noise complaint from the other neighbors? Me. But that's not even the half of it. A week later, I come home to find my dog, not in my yard, not in their yard, but gone. Vanished. I'm searching, calling her name, and then I get a call from the local shelter. They found her with a collar that wasn't hers and a tag with a phone number scratched out. I don't have proof, but my gut tells me they had something to do with it. I'm furious, but I keep it together. I start keeping my distance, installing cameras because I don't trust them anymore. And good thing I did. One night, the footage shows Timmy sneaking into my yard, trying to open my back door. I show his parents thinking it'll shame them into action. But no, they accuse me of doctoring the footage, of trying to frame their precious boy. It's like I'm living next to lunatics. I'm losing sleep, always on edge, wondering what they'll do next. Then, out of nowhere, their house goes up for sale. I'm thinking, finally, some peace. But the universe has a twisted sense of humor. The house sells, and who moves in? Timmy's aunt and her family, who are even worse. They're loud, they're messy, and they think the previous feud is some kind of family legacy to uphold. I'm at my wit's end. I'm thinking of selling, of moving. But then, the aunt's family starts having their own problems. Turns out they're not paying their bills, and one day, a tow truck comes and takes away their shiny SUV. The neighborhood's whispering, and I can't help but feel a little vindicated watching them scramble. But the real kicker comes when I get home one day to find a letter in my mailbox. It's from Timmy's mom, of all people. She's apologizing, saying they've moved across town, that they were wrong, that they should have respected my boundaries. She writes about family issues, about Timmy's dad losing his job, about how they're struggling, and how they've realized they took their frustrations out on me. I don't know what to feel. Part of me is angry, wants to hold on to the grudge, but another part of me, a part I didn't know I had, feels sorry for them. I don't respond, but I take down the no trespassing sign. It doesn't feel necessary anymore. And then, as if the universe decides I've had enough drama, things start to calm down. The aunt's family moves out after a few months, some quiet couple moves in, and life starts to feel normal again. I can breathe. My dog's safe, the cameras are still up, but they're just a precaution now. Thanks for reading. My best friend's sister breaks my prosthetic leg and acts all innocent. But when she bails on the bill, I take her to court and watch her squirm as she pays up every last penny. A couple of days ago, my best friend's youngest sisters, 5 and 7 years old, broke my hip prosthetic leg while I was resting, and her middle sister, 20 years old, apparently watched. As it is unfortunately customed, it can't easily be replaced, and I have a secondary normal emergency one, so I can still go about my day as usual. But I'm constantly uncomfortable as it isn't specialized. The cost for repair is looking to be around $5,000, $10,000 because of very specific damage to certain internal parts at the hip. I don't really want to sue, but my stepsister is adamant that I should, especially as my best friend's middle sister hates me and had apparently egged on her little sisters with money and favors to play and Ruth House my leg, showing clear malicious behavior. My friend and her mother obviously don't want me to sue, and they have said that they will pay me back for the damage. But this isn't really about the damage, more about the act. Considering my stepsister doesn't have a lot of money, this would hurt her monetarily and then probably the rest of the family. I feel horrible, but the vindictive parts of me wants to make my friend's middle sister hurt for this. I know I could lose my friendship with my friend, and I really don't want that. But I want the middle sister to get punished. Would I be the jerk if I sued my best friend's sister for provoking her younger sisters to play and damage, eventually breaking my prosthetic leg? Edit. The replies to this post are going to be more to remind me it's a dumb idea and to explain to my sister that it is a shoot idea. Edit 2, middle sister has been caught throwing my prosthetic leg in a dumpster before, which is why I believe the kids, that means very little in court. But again, I'm not actively thinking of suing. Edit 3, some extra information. I'm 24 female, and my friend is also 24 and female. I was taking a rest at my best friend's house after a training session, believing that the middle sister was away. I live in Canada. Edit 4. Middle sister has contacted me and is willing to pay for 50%, would range between $20,500 to $5,000. I don't know where she would get the money, so right now I see it as some ploy. Or could she be genuine? She is working and is living with her family. All of the family lives in the same home, so she could have some money. I'm willing to compromise and just see her get some kind of punishment. I have contacted insurance and they may pay some of it, especially if I can angle it correctly, aka get admission from middle sister and a document documenting the process and affected workflow, like self-admitted community services through the community board. I'm not really sure how I want to proceed, but suing is firmly out of the question now. Just had a talk with my best friend, her mom, and was sneak attacked by the youngest sisters, who cried and apologized. I know they could have potentially been coerced, but they have always been brutally honest, so I believe they are truly sorry, and I don't want to do anything to hurt any of them directly. Edit 5. I will also look into homeowner insurance, but as I do have the money for the leg, thank God for being smart, setting up a second account that 1/3 to half my paycheck gets into, living at home, not that my father would let me move out, Papa Bear, and frugal, food, rent, home, and my leg. No other expenses while living with my father. It never was the money, just the act. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot, get your money. Which family member gets it to you isn't your problem. The parents can deal with punishing the kids, but you need to get paid right away and every last penny. This is a hate crime. They attacked you because of your differences, intending to hurt you. This leg allows you to walk comfortably. It's your leg. Should this horrible person be punished? Absolutely. But being reimbursed is the most important thing. I say if the family handles it properly, go for it. But make it clear that you are getting fully reimbursed right away or you are going to court, and they can deal with their horrible children. Comment 2. I don't understand. Your intention is to sue this girl for allegedly telling children to harm your leg? Why was your leg in a situation where children could play with it? On what evidence would your lawsuit be based? Hearsay? The testimony of a 5-year-old? Like, your situation sucks, and I'm not a lawyer, but I don't see how any lawyer would take your case. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around for this update. So the situation with my prosthetic leg has gone from bad to a complete mess. After the last talk with my best friend and her family, I thought we were getting somewhere. Her middle sister even offered to pay half the repair costs. But guess what? She bailed, said she needed the money for something else, and just left me hanging. I was fuming, but I kept it together because I didn't want to ruin things with my best friend. Then, out of nowhere, my stepsister took matters into her own hands. She went behind my back and filed a lawsuit against the middle sister. I couldn't believe it. She said it was the only way to teach her a lesson. Now the whole family is in an uproar, and my best friend won't even look at me. I tried to stop it, but my stepsister said it was too late. I feel like I've been punched in the gut. In the middle of all this, my emergency prosthetic started acting up. It's like it knew it wasn't the main one and just decided to give up on me. I was at the mall when it happened, and I fell right in the middle of the food court. Everyone stared, and I just lay there. My pride shattered along with my leg. It was the last thing I needed. My dad, bless him, tried to make things right. He offered to pay for the repairs himself, but I couldn't let him do that. He's already done so much for me. Plus, I have the money, it's just the principle of the thing. I wanted the middle sister to own up to what she did, not to pass the burden on to my dad. And then, as if things couldn't get any worse, my best friend's youngest sisters came over to apologize again. They brought me this homemade card that was all glitter and sorry words. It broke my heart. They're just kids, and they're caught in the middle of this adult mess. I didn't want them to feel any worse than they already did. But here's where I made the wrong choice. I decided to drop the lawsuit. I told my stepsister to back off and that I'd handle it myself. I thought I was doing the right thing, keeping the peace. But now the middle sister thinks she's gotten away with it. She's strutting around like she's untouchable. And it's all because I didn't stand my ground. I'm trying to figure out what to do next. Maybe I can get her to do some community service or something. I don't know. All I know is that I can't let her think she can just do whatever she wants without any consequences. Thanks for reading this mess of an update. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.